And politicians are not inclined, I mean, they may have it themselves, but like I said, politicians are not courageous beings, especially in America. They are not, we do not have great courage and certainly not great speaking skills in, in politicians anymore. They don't live like the Henry Clays and even Clay and Webster were not that courageous in their own ways. They would be, and they had their own quirks and weaknesses where they buckled under political pressures. But most, don't have that kind of courage. They really don't want to confront in a system which is very democratic, or at least visually democratic. They don't want to cross their constituents that keep them in office. And now we're looking at constituents who are looking very likely at using force, violence to express their opinions, which to me, that goes back way back to the 1830s and 40s when we had riots in the cities over any political issues. And we called it politics out of doors. And that's where people would take their anger out of doors, and a protest would become a riot very, very quickly, and could cause an awful lot of damage very quickly. And I think there is a nervousness of that. We saw that a few years ago. And so now we're looking at this happening again, and it is not an encouraging thing. I'll be honest, I keep watching, when I watch C-SPAN and I see congressional and Senate debates going on, I keep thinking back to Dr. Joanne Friedman's book, Field of Blood, where she talks about violence in Congress. I thought, okay, when's the next fight going to break out? When am I going to, so I have my journal ready to write down, oh, there was a fight break out, when's this going to happen again? And it comes back to that we're not talking to one another, we're talking at one another. Because I'm not going to offend my constituents by talking with somebody else and making them, that's even harder. It's hard enough to do it yourself. It's much harder to tell the people who voted you in or who pay your salary, no, you need to talk to the other person as well, not just me. That's systemic. And that one requires, that's a Douglas thing. That's a Douglas act. That's a gutsy thing. That's the prophet. Okay. That's the prophet talking there. You have to say, look, I'm going to talk to somebody who's different, but I'm going to drag you along with me, and you're going to do it too.
Thank you for that. All right. Looking at the person of Frederick Douglass, what would you consider to be his greatest achievement and true legacy today, 2023, as we look back at his life?
If I was to do a Douglass exhibit, remembering Douglass, like we do with Lincoln, I would focus in on what he said about others, the others, that there is no such, we should have no other others. We basically come in as Americans. I would try and put together the idea he saw, live up to your words, guys. Live up to the Declaration, the opening lines, the Declaration of Independence. Live up to the preamble of the Constitution. Live up to some of the great letters and documents and essays in the Federalist Papers. Live up to these things. These are some marvelous terms and words that have impacted the world. But it's only hypocrisy, and it's offensive to many others when you don't live up to them. There are others in other countries who've done much better, I think, sometimes in living up to those things than we have. At different times. I think that is one thing that it looks worse when you do not live up to your own rhetoric. This is something that we have to do much better at. And this is what I think, if I was going to construct a Douglass exhibit, it's his comment to live up to those glorious words, live by them. And what he did to actually live, exemplify, getting married to a white woman in his later years, trying to demand, no, we're going to be equal socially too. We're going to be one society. We are not going to have this, oh, they're just not like us. Don't stop that. I mean, he did it though. What I love about Douglas is that he maintained, he posts his social equality, but he does not lose his Christian faith, from what I can tell. And as a Christian myself, I find that very helpful, encouraging that he maintains faith and yet also this great belief in the the quality of all humanity.
Now, I've asked you almost everything I wanted to ask you. So, what would be your final thought here? Maybe it might be a message, or it might be, I don't know, something you wanted to say that I didn't ask you. So, please go ahead and conclude it in
I
your own way. Of yeah.
I don't want so much bring up I can show a book, I guess. I would encourage getting a collection of Douglas writings, and they're available everywhere, even online, or one of the new biographies on Frederick Douglass. And I would sit down and say, okay, I need to know this person. I need to be introduced again or for the first time to this guy. And I need to look at the awkward life, the challenges, the pains he had to suffer, the difficulties he went through. And then I want to read his words again and look at, okay, what does this mean for me? How can I recycle this? How can I reuse these great words that meant maybe one thing in the Victorian age? But then, like Lincoln's words, we take them again and says, how do I need this now? How would I rephrase this in this century? I get to the 21st century. How do I rephrase this now? So that, oh man, now it's meaningful. Now it's speaking to me in 2023. It's speaking to me now in this age. But you have to go back and look at the biography and look at his words. And I would encourage folks to go back and pull those out. David Blight did this great book, Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom. I thought it was a great book for that one. I think it's the new one out. It's by a renowned historian. And that's a good way of looking at his biography. Oh, there we go. There's a way of grasping this character. It's a big book. It's not a little book. Hold it out here. Here we go. Not a little book. Not a little book. But I think we have to get past the Reader's Digest or the Cliff Notes versions of everything. We're going to have to take risky dives into material, spend some time. And I think Frederick Douglass is one of those characters that, okay, I need to spend time with Douglass. And I need to spend this time seriously looking at and thinking about my age through this guy's life and looking for lessons that I can pull out and make sense, maybe, or things that I can take back with me into my world and living now.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the conversation. I really learned a lot from what you have shared with me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation.